I'm not sure where to start when discussing what I consider to be one of Manchester City's worst performances under Pep's leadership. Manchester City suffered a painful defeat in the Champions League when they visited Bodo/GLIM home ground. Pep Guardiola's team surprisingly lost 3-1. Let's discuss why Manchester City lost. Was it purely a tactical defeat, or just bad luck? First half, Man City dominated possession. City used a 2-3-4-1 formation, trying to exploit the width of the field to neutralize Bodo's compactness. City likely dropped their wing-backs back to create space behind the opposition's defense. This typically happened on the left side to draw Bodo's players in, then play one or two passes to shift the ball to Ait-Nouri, who could attack from the right side. The biggest joy was the opportunities created from the right-hand side. City did really well to create opportunities or potential opportunities using the right-hand space and the passes in behind their defense in their right half space. Another positive was using, at times, Cherki high and Foden low to try and maximize their abilities, like with this switch to Ran, where he should have played it quicker. This didn't happen often enough, though. Where do I start? Firstly, when the ball was switched over to O'Reilly's side, there wasn't enough support and took too long to shift over. The issue is when play recycled, there was no support on the other side either, like here, where there is this gaping hole where Bodo's structure is finally semi-broken. The rotations were too slow, similar to this. When one player mails a movement, someone needs to move in the vacated space, which didn't happen. This situation with Reinders and Rico is an example. Cherki comes outside the block, and Reinders frees up so much space, which Rico moves into too late. Secondly, individual substandard performances, particularly Haaland and Foden. Here, Haaland needs to stick on the last line. He will either receive it in behind with all that space in front of him, or he stretches the defense back and creates space for the rest of the team, whilst pushing Bodo's defense back. When O'Reilly comes deep to create space in behind, Foden needs to move. It's so simple at this level with patterns and rotations. It would have opened up so many avenues to either receive or free up Reinders centrally, but instead, he wants it to feet to recycle. Thirdly, structurally, it was so poor limiting our best players to minimal touches in the areas they don't want it. One or two situations where we had Foden/Cherki high/low, or in areas where they can genuinely make a difference. Why not platform in the best possible situations, whilst also giving protection to our defense? This is what we could have done. Man City, lack of directness. We were very lackluster and slow when attacking, particularly in these situations where we can be direct and aggressive and catch Bodo out of their shape in transition. But we would rather try keep the ball and control, which didn't work. Comparison with Bodo. Here you can see Bodo get the ball with a number deficiency, and yet attack in such an aggressive manner, they have now an even numerical situation. That was one of the biggest differences in the game. It felt like we didn't want it, like they did. Man City out of possession in middle third. Before we get into the biggest issue we have, let's discuss the OOP structure in the middle third. We still play high, which is okay. The gap between our midfield and defense is too big, particularly when we are not compact, meaning the opposition can play through us and turn and be in behind our midfield, running at our defense. We usually are in a 4-4-2, which is quite standard, but the issue with us is pressing from our middle third with no real trigger, which just opens up gaps for teams to play through us. Man City press/Bodo goal kicks. Our biggest weakness was how we pressed from their goal kicks. We used a 4-1-3-2, but using Haaland to block off the left side of the pitch, forcing them to go long. The issue with this is that we are terrible in dueling and winning second balls, and that was evident in this. We conceded many opportunities/potential opportunities from this exact thing. A bigger problem with it was that it made our players run all the way back, and then Bodo would recycle it and we would run all the way back up, making them distances between each other larger and that made it easier for Bodo to play through us. This is arguably the worst one, with Reinders not fully on his man, because Ran steps out on the right, making a simple pass available for the keeper, allowing Bodo almost a clear run to make it 3-0. As well as this, Rodri being on the front line or even leading our press is ridiculous, seeing as he's meant to be our best dueler. But also, he's covering more ground than he needs to, making it more difficult in areas where we need to cover ground. Bodo's second goal. This goal again ends up being on a lane again. However, previous to his mistake, Rodri drives into nowhere and loses it, followed by Reinders not committing to a block. It could have been prevented earlier, however. It is still ultimately Alain's fault. He took a big risk which you can't do, 1 because it's too risky, and 2 because it's a couple of minutes right after you've conceded 1 goal. In possession. Pep made a decision to switch to a 3-2-5/3-1-6, using O'Reilly as a WCB and then Foden wide left, although we had Doku on the bench. There were some positives with it, such as finding Reinders or Rico in some pockets of space. It worked well for the goal, too, with Cherki coming outside the block to open up space in behind. Overall, it was still poor, though. Issues post-shape switch. Rodri's positioning and poor retention of the ball. He gets dragged all the way out and is made to be punished for that, with Bodo set to be in an attacking situation once again. He found himself in trouble for a lot of the Bodo chances, and that eventually leads to the third goal, where he loses it and fails to recover it, leading to a third goal. This is then topped off with his eventual red card, which wrapped up the game for Bodo. Individual. Haaland and Foden were poor. Alain was good on the ball but made some errors which I don't have too much of an issue with as he's learning, and also the midfield don't exactly help him or fill him with confidence. Kusanov was good, as was O'Reilly. Cherki the only one who it looks like wants to play football. Haaland needs to sort things out because it just isn't good enough. These are just some clips of him looking lackluster, just to provide evidence for the criticism. Foden has lost a sense of directness when playing, which was one of his best attributes. Overall, we were very poor, and I expect some significant changes to the lineup for Wolves, and hopefully some new ideas too.